Hi, my name is Kelly Cheney, and this is my project proposal for my capstone. A little bit of info about me. I just hit my 15th year of teaching secondary art. I personally like to paint, print make, and do photography. And my artistic goal in the education sense here is to, I'm striving to give students relevant artistic experiences, maybe something that, they haven't been exposed to or something that's more relevant to them, which again, too, goes to having kind of a commitment to meaningful opportunities for all learners. So that's everyone in my class should have something that connects to them through some sort of relevant experience within the assignments that we do. My capstone is going to be called Learning in Pieces. As you can see kind of with the background here, we have kind of this mosaic idea that's going to be happening. It's going to be where community and mosaic meet through secondary art curriculum design. Why did I pick this? A few different reasons. I think mosaic is something that is not really used, at least where I'm from, in kind of a 2D art setting. I think it would be good for them to learn something completely different than anything we've learned before. Through the way this is going to be connected is going to be through community, culture, and place, which I'll show you on the next slide. This helps students kind of engage and be part of something bigger than themselves. A mosaic is going to be around for a long time. It's going to be a permanent, artwork that's going to be explored by multiple different people. And a big thing in this too was having something for gifted and advanced students to do. I think if there's any gaps in my curriculum and, in my classroom, I think it's the students that do well and they're good students and they work hard and they end up maybe like cleaning something or peer teaching, which is great. But I want to make sure that they have opportunities that they can do that maybe just expand on what they're doing a little bit and make kind of a bigger, connection. Okay, so a little bit of background here that'll make this make a little bit more sense is that our high school just turned 40 last year, and we finally got a performing arts center. This performing arts center is also a community center, so this is why I'm kind of trying to do something for the community within this space. Inside this area, there is, in the lobby, they put this little inset 25-foot long bench with lights, but it's kind of ugly. It's just kind of got these bricks that were painted black. So started thinking this would be a great idea and a great space for some sort of mosaic. And how could we do that? How could we have our students work through that? So kind of trying to design something where we can use mosaic, again, a medium I've never used, and try to work out, the pieces here to turn this into a mosaic. This would connect to community. So the point of this is to kind of learn about the history, have students learn about it, design some elements here, and have that cross connection, right? We're gonna have students build it. It's gonna relate to the community. It's gonna be in a community center. And again, part of our department is this performing arts center that we can utilize. So looking at this, some of the questions that came up were, how can a site-specific mosaic curriculum be designed with secondary art education to provide opportunities for engagement with local history, culture, and community? So again, that kind of cultural connection and how that can tie into mosaic. What insights emerged through artography research during the development of a large-scale collaborative mosaic curriculum? So kind of learning how to research as an artist, researcher, and teacher here. And then how does the process of self-study shape my understanding of curriculum design, artistic practice, and teaching throughout the development of a site-specific mosaic curriculum? Again, I'm pretty confident in the things I teach now, but I've never made a mosaic. I've never taught a mosaic, so this is uncharted territory for me. So how do all these pieces come together? How does this all work within this space? To kind of look through some literature that I kind of focused on to kind of develop these understandings. I looked at Davenport, where, we kind of look at community-based art education, local community and culture, and then again, just even student identity. What connections do they have to the community and how do they feel a sense of belonging? And how can I make this project give them this permanent sense that they can come back 2 years later and it's still going to be there that they created? We have Krug and Parker, which is place-based learning, critical inquiry, and community engagement. So how can we kind of look into these details critically? How does this place-based idea kind of tie in? And then we have Van Tassel and Bosca, hopefully, or Van Tassel Bosca, hopefully I'm saying that right. And here we have differentiation for advanced learners enrichment opportunities, and independent artistic exploration. So a mosaic is a pretty consistent kind of idea, but again, we will have, someone's gonna have to design it. Our students are gonna probably do a contest to design it. And, even with the mosaic, they have to kind of figure out which pieces would go there, how all of that's going to work. So the big thing here for me was to kind of, how do I develop this, right? So I'm going to be working on teacher examples to kind of build to this. So my research is going to be more based on what I'm actually doing here and kind of how do I make a mosaic so that I can then teach my students how to make a mosaic. So here we get to those research methodologies. So qualitative research, self-study. Again, I'm going to be the one making a mosaic as a trial run to see, I'm going to need a lot of supplies, a lot of tools, space. I'm going to need to break this down into smaller pieces. So if I'm going to give them maybe 1 foot by 1 foot squares or longer pieces that are maybe like, 10 inches by 15 inches, whatever the case is, I'm going to have to kind of look through this, figure out who I need to talk to, where I need to get supplies, how all of that's going to work. And so kind of pulling all these pieces together. So looking at community-based mosaic curriculum development is going to be one. So even though I'm making the teacher example, how do I then piece this together to make it like an actual curriculum unit? Again, teacher inquiry, artistic practice, reflection is going to be a huge thing here for all of these steps for me working through this. So again, kind of the end game is that final mosaic I showed you, but to get there, I'm going to have to learn pretty much the basics starting from scratch. Good news is we do have Prop 28 money now in California, so that's probably another reason why this project's even doable. So yeah, critical friends are going to be big here. I'm going to have to work with my admin for those funding issues, talk to my department chair, my leads, my workers in my department, and kind of maybe pick their brains on some stuff or ask for support or help, or just kind of being able to bounce ideas off of them, documenting, my reactions and my kind of, maybe even like parts where it's more stressful or things are working or things are not working. So any little thing, even just like hiccups in budget or getting supplies or using tools or whatever that case is. So reflective journaling and field notes are going to be huge for this because it's where a lot of my documentation is going to come from. I'm going to, again, need curriculum and unit drafts and everything that pieces that together, whether that's warm-ups or exit tickets or small activities about artists or having a local historian come in and maybe do a presentation while we decide, even the beginning stages of what's going to go into these mosaics. So there's going to be a lot going on. Sketches, photographs, again, all of this kind of processed through these artifacts that we collect. And watch as I kind of put this together and see how it works, right? So again, a lot of those things to kind of support me, work through the reflection, work through the research, and all of that. So what is next? So now that I kind of have a direction, an idea, first thing I'm going to need to know is how to get materials and supplies. If I'm going to make a mosaic, there's going to be tools, there's going to be tiles or glass pieces or whatever it is that I'm going to be able to use for that to cut up. So I need to talk to my administration, to my department chair, figure out the budget, figure out how and when I can get those supplies ordered, how those prototypes are going to come together. So how am I going to make my teacher example? Being able to refine it, make notes, see, issues and different things that are going to come up for my students as well when they're working on them eventually. And then again, starting the curriculum, getting it all set up so that I've got the materials, the tools, the prototypes, and now a curriculum that can be set for that. So those are kind of the phases here that I will be going through. Some references here for those articles I talked about. So yeah, that is the plan. And thank you for watching.